next, please allow me to introduce another extremely charismatic speaker, Mr. Jermaine Anderson, the CEO and founder of Sociallocket. Mr. Jermaine is an exceptional, experienced engineer and an inspiring entrepreneur. Being an extrovert by nature and a keen team player, he has been involved in delivering successful projects at both startups and large enterprises. Please put your hands together in a huge round of applause, welcoming him on stage.
Before I take up too much of your time, I can imagine you're all tired now and want to head home. And some of you have, like me, 2 years ago, boarded a plane to start this venture, which is Sociallocket. And it's a centralized real estate marketplace designed to streamline the acquisition of real estate. But I'd like to take a moment of your time to tell you a little bit about myself before I go into too much detail of why I actually started this and what the problem is I'm trying to solve. So myself, Jermaine Anderson, the founder and CEO of Sociallocket. And as the lady said, I worked at various companies, some startups, some large enterprises, where I've been a part of successful projects ranging from cardless payments to automated pension advice. But 2 years ago, I was doing consulting for Tesco and Innocent Drinks. So I had 2 contracts at the same time, which wasn't the right thing for me to do because I should only have one at a time and stay focused on one given project. But I was trying to push the limitations of, I guess, my mind and my capabilities within the engineering realm. And I felt this pull while sitting at my laptop on a Monday morning. And the pull was saying to me, Dubai, Dubai, Dubai. And I batted it away for 1 or 2 days. But by the Thursday, 4 days later, I was on a plane with half of a suitcase full of clothes, coming to Dubai on a 2 weeks holiday, more to soul search and to sort of discover another side of myself, away from my career, away from monetary value. But while here, I sort of saw that there was a problem that I was also facing back home as a real estate investor, which is one of my hobbies. And I saw that there was a lot of empty land, but there was also a lack of trust within the community of real estate, and there was also a fragmented real estate process. So what do I mean by that? I came to purchase a villa and an apartment, and I was moments away from signing that deal, but there was a heartbeat that wouldn't allow me to go ahead. Because I sat in a room with 3 people, and they all said 3 different things, even though they was trying to sell me one thing. So I didn't board that plane, and I stayed, and I decided to lock myself away in a hotel room and start coding. And I thought to myself, if I have had this problem, I need to solve it, because I want to purchase these assets to diversify my portfolio. I need a system that will allow me to trace anybody that was a part of that real estate acquisition process, and I didn't find anything in the market that was servicing such use case. So in me developing that, I started to find that other people was also having a similar problem. So time went by, I built an MVP by speaking to real estate agents, buyers, other people that were suffering with the same problem as me, and I flew back to the UK to try and raise some more funds to be able to come back and carry on with the venture. So what is the problem that I'm talking about? In terms of a real estate acquisition process, you tend to have a seller, and without a seller, there's no such thing as a buyer, because there's nothing to purchase. But sitting right in the middle of that process tends to be, and this is a global thing, a real estate agent or a real estate agency that will be there to facilitate that deal. So the real estate agent would be given a property by somebody, or given a real estate asset by somebody that wants to sell it. And then you would have a buyer like myself that would go onto some sort of digital platform in the terms of the UAE. That would be Bayut, Property Finder, or even Dubizzle. And you would find that property in regards to your specifications, your need, your requirements, and your budget. And once you found that property, you would then reach out to the real estate agent, which takes you from one platform to another. And that platform would be some sort of messaging system like WhatsApp, Telegram, email, or even normal SMS messaging. But how do I know who I'm speaking to? How do I know that the real estate agent that I'm now communicating to is the real estate agent that listed that property? I don't. But in wanting that investment, you pursue it, you arrange a viewing, you go to view the property, you like it, you make an offer, then the real estate agent takes your offer, relays that back to the seller, then the seller accepts the offer, relays that back to the real estate agent, then comes back to the buyer. So how do I know the communication that's taken place between the real estate agent and the seller? And how does the seller know any of the communication that's taken place between the real estate agent, and myself? There's no transparency. So everything is going off trust, and trust in one entity, which is a middleman that we have to hold trust in order to acquire this asset. So in order to solve that problem, alongside reduce the time that it takes to purchase the asset, I thought of a solution. That solution is, today, I believe it's Sociallocket. And that's to change the way that we interact with the stakeholders involved and reverse that process. So rather than everything feeding outwards, in the sense of having a real estate agent platform, like Bayot, like Property Finder, like the Bizzle, having some sort of messaging communication tool like WhatsApp, Telegram, or normal SMS, or even in the terms of when it comes to, depending on what type of investor you are, speaking to your accountant to see whether it's a viable investment, and then reaching out to some sort of lender, which could be the bank in this sense, to give you financing to leverage that deal. You want to have one centralized platform where all of the stakeholders connect together in a centralized location so you can see all of the communication that takes place between all of the stakeholders throughout the entire process. So in that way, it brings trust, it reduces the time that it takes to make that investment, and it also makes the process a lot more enjoyable. So we have Sociallocket that will provide you with all of the tools to allow you to facilitate that deal and allow the information to be transparent across the board. But not just that. In the typical sense, we tend to want to purchase real estate using fiat. Why do we have to use fiat? Why do we have to use, for example, a US dollar, a British pound, or a euro, or a dirham, or an Indian rupee? Why can't we use any commodity? Because real estate is the only asset class that is liquid, but we want to make it illiquid. So we want to be able to make real estate transactional. How do we do that? So, for example, if I have another commodity, that commodity could be a cryptocurrency. That commodity could be a special metal. So it could be gold, silver, platinum. It could be diamonds. It could be stocks or shares in oil. As long as it is a commodity and it has a value, you want to pair that value to the value of the real estate asset and just trade it. So in sense of that, I was in a deal that took 15 months, and from an investor's perspective, time is money. So if we can reduce the time that it takes you to acquire that asset, all you have to now think about is trading that asset. So the goal is to reduce it from my own experience from 15 months down to potentially 15 minutes to even 15 seconds, where you just have commodities and you trade that commodity as long as that commodity has value. So in terms of where we're currently at, there's a market specifically in the UAE that's worth over $81 billion. So in 2021, that was the value of the real estate market in Dubai. In 2022, it was worth over $70 billion. And as of August, it was worth over $50 billion, with it predicted to supersede what it was worth in 2021. So there's a clear trend and a clear sign that the real estate market, not just in the UAE, but these are the statistics for Dubai, is growing. So what's the journey been like so far? Well, what I normally tend to see as an investor in digital assets, physical assets, I tend to see a lot of these events that we tend to want to do a ICO, we have a token launch, then we go away and take that funds and build a project. Being an engineer, I decided to reverse that, self-fund it, build the project first, and then launch the token. So the platform is now live. We've also started to do partnerships, and in the process of forming a partnership with the Dubai Land Department, which in Dubai itself, there are only 2 companies that have that partnership. One is Property Finder, and the other is Bayot. So that sort of gives me the encouragement and the incentive that I'm holding on to something that the government themselves can see benefit. But apart from that, I think it's one thing in terms of giving somebody a tool, but without educating them, that tool serves no purpose. So what I decided to do was write 11 ebooks, not just around the platform, but also around property investing, digital and physical assets, and how combining those together will allow us to sort of change the way that we, again, interact with real estate assets. So, sort of giving you a little insight in terms of how the platform looks, which is live, and I will be hosting a challenge, which I'll tell you about later on towards the end of the talk. The platform allows you to list your properties, but it also gives you real-time data in terms of where you currently at within that process of the acquisition. It will also give you real-time metrics pulled back from the Dubai Land Department in terms of the value of that property. So I could have a property that's worth X, but I want to list it for X. So that means I could be listing it above the asking price or the price that that property is valued within that region. The software that I've provided will give you the information and tell you that that property is overpriced. So you still have the ability to go ahead and make that purchase, but we're giving you the information and the data to allow you to make that acquisition and make it with full knowledge of what that asset's actually worth. There's also a side of it in terms of thinking of it from an agency's perspective, or even a developer, or even an investor that holds multiple assets. How do we manage our assets? So I have property back home in the UK, and I have a title deed for each of those properties. When I want to move house, I don't know, this is the real thing, I don't know where my title deeds are for that property. So I have to go back to the local authority in that sense, and then there's a process that I have to go through to prove that I'm the owner of that asset in order to receive my documentation back. But in partnering with the Dubai Land Department, we can improve that. So rather than you taking your title deeds and locking it away in a safe or just throwing it away in a drawer, we would digitalize it. In terms of the actual application itself, it's been designed in a way to sort of remove the gatekeepers and give back full control to each stakeholder throughout that process. So in terms of the buyer can directly speak to the seller with the help of the real estate agent to help facilitate that deal. But in terms of the legalities, you can have a lawyer on board that would also be able to see the steps involved throughout that process and know what things that they need to go and do to action. So we are streamlining the acquisition process rather than it taking the time that it typically takes today. Also, I believe that they say cash is king. Now, from an engineer's world, we believe data is king. We sell data we exchange data for cash. So I think one of the things that is key part of this platform is to provide real-time, real data back to the users so they can make real decisions in real time. Now this slide, I kind of stole it from Steve Jobs. And I saw that he'd done something really cool in regards to his competitive analysis. And I'm not saying that Sociallocket is better than the competitors out there, but I'm saying that Sociallocket wants to do something different. So the typical way of listing your properties at the moment is Buyout and Property Finder, where it's only seen as a marketplace. You list the property, and after that, you go on to other systems in order to complete that process. We want to provide you with all of the tools from point of contact to point of sale to complete the entire process of acquiring an asset. So 1, there's an audit trail. 2, there's visibility. And 3, there's also security. So in the examples that I mentioned earlier, your buyer, your seller, the real estate agent, the accountant, the lawyer, the mortgage advisors, the banks, you're using multiple systems. So we can multiply the security risk by 5, by 6, by 7, depending on the amount of systems that you're using. In centralizing that, all we now need to do is think about protecting the one system and not worrying about our data being duplicated and exposing ourselves at risk of our data being stolen from 5, 6, 7 different systems. So, the roadmap. What's the next plan? So we have the platform. We went live on the 1st of September, started onboarding our first clients on the 4th of September, and we have started forming the partnerships with, as I mentioned earlier, the Dubai Land Department. So there's a few things that I need to do from a legality standpoint just to make sure that that falls into place. And tomorrow, I will be having a discussion with one of the largest real estate agencies in Dubai in order to start onboarding them as one of our first potential big clients. The reason why I'm taking the strategic approach is because being a one-man band, it's hard to manage everything by myself. But also, being an engineer, I don't just want to throw software out there and that software be used by various people without actually servicing them in the right way. So it's important that through my experience, you walk with what I call my partners in order to understand their pain points so I can really service them and get to the core of the problem to build something great. So the next steps is to launch a mobile app because I want to make it diverse. It's not just going to be there for desktop users. I want you to be able to have access to the application while you're on the go. And it's also about implementing what I mentioned earlier, the blockchain element of it, to ensure that we can have tradable commodities. So I have the token. The token has been audited. The audits have passed. And I was going to start the pre-sale here at the event. But my engineering mind, my heart again started to beat and says, Jermaine, that's not the right thing to do. Wait, build the platform, educate the people around the platform, and then once we have started to get real adoption, we can bring in the utility of the token and take the platform to the next level where we can actually start to trade assets for assets. So, investment risks. I want to be transparent. I'm a one-man band. So as I continue to self-fund, bootstrap the platform, there's a lot of risk behind that. So I have competitors that have a big marketing budget. They have big teams. So I'm rivaling against people that I guess, if in my own words, are better off. But I think, again, over the years, anything that we do, we should do it from a place of love, a place of passion. And the software has never been a thing about making money to me. It's been about a problem that I was facing myself and I wanted to solve. And as I've journeyed, I found that other people are also having that problem. But on the flip side, investment opportunity. I have over 10 years experience as an engineer and worked at various different companies, so some ranging from Innocent Drinks, Marks & Spencer's, Tesco, and have helped them with their solutions. But I've also found other companies that, to me at the time, were just pet projects, what I call quarantine challenge. So I didn't ever put them online in order to repay monetary value, but it was more of just having fun, using my skill set in order to, I guess, occupy my time. In terms of the strategy that I want to use to get the platform out there and put it in front of the right people, I'm specifically focusing on Dubai and trying to prove that the model works here rather than trying to catch multiple fish and not catch any. So if I take that stance, it will allow me to really understand the market, service the users, and as we've proven out the model here, we can then start to expand throughout the Middle East and other regions. But in terms of the solution itself, it's a global problem, so I believe it's a global solution. And as Uber started off just providing taxis, they now have ventured into providing Uber Eats, so they've gone into other sectors. So Sociallocket has a similar vision in which I'm happy to share with you offline. And that's the sort of strategy that we want to take. It's take one step before we start to run and end up getting nowhere. So the business model is nothing around the cryptocurrency. It's purely around a SaaS product. So there'll be a paid subscription in which trying to be strategic, I have an understanding of what our competitors are charging. So I am providing the software at a much cheaper rate than our competitors. But not only am I providing the software at a much cheaper rate than our competitors, I am giving the end users much more value for their money. There'll be also in-app premium or in-app premium features in which we can utilize to generate more revenue. And there's also inventory that we hold. So as mentioned earlier, I wrote 11 ebooks by myself to help service this industry, but they will also be on sale. And I don't know if you saw me before I got on stage, I was drinking a coffee. One of the things behind the ebooks is that it won't be more expensive than a cup of coffee. So I mentioned the competitive packages. What are they? There's three to start with anyway. So we're starting off from $69 and ranging all the way up to $369. And through those, you'll be able to list your properties, which in listing them, you also are given a load of features and functionality in order to assist you with A, your portfolio, B, your purchases, and other things that you may need in regards to your real estate acquisitions. So guys, I mentioned at the beginning of the talk that I was doing a competition. One of the things as an engineer and through my experience was to protect companies from what we call black hackers. So I was a white hacker, and that basically means that there's 99 ways to enter the system, and I have to try and figure out all of those 99 ways to protect that company, but the hacker only has to figure out one. So in building the software and knowing that I'll be managing users' data, it was important to me that I protect the data that flows through that platform. So I've created a platform in a way that I believe is really secure, and I'm also aware of the vulnerabilities that it still has. So I'm running a challenge over the next 24 to 48 hours where I'm willing to give away 10 usernames and 10 passwords that have been encrypted by the software. And if anybody can decrypt that password and get into the system, I'm willing to give away $1,000. So that's $10,000 up for stake for each of those users. And if anybody's open to the challenge, I'm at booth 64. Please come and visit me. Thank you.